chickies, welcome to the Fully Booked Penguin channel. I'm Hannah and today we are doing the mid-year bookish freakout tag. Woo! Now I don't think anyone knows where all these questions for the mid-year bookish tag came about. Everyone who I've watched is like, I don't know who began it, but here's where I found it. I think I did this tag last year, so maybe I tagged people in that one. I'm not sure. But this year, I'm just doing the tag yet again because we are halfway through 2025. I don't know, I feel like it is halfway through 2025, but then I also, on the other hand, feel like it's not. I'm like, wait, no. So for the first half of 2025, the first 6 months, I have read, well, 50 books, but 4 of them were DNFs, so it just depends if you count DNFs or not. Otherwise, it's 46 books that I have completed and reviewed. Now, most of them were romance and fantasy. I've only gotten into more historical and classics, like dotted through, and then the last month, so June, was very like historical fiction romance heavy. So otherwise I had 8 5-stars for the year, but an average of 3.99. So 4 stars overall. When looking at these questions, I had a bit of a tough time thinking of what the answer was because I was like, wait, my brain tends to, if it's not in the forefront, it just puts it way back, and then I'm like, I don't recall you at all. They say your brain sometimes removes things if it's not important, and unfortunately, according to my brain, most of my life isn't important. So excuse me if some of these answers are a little short or I'm like, I don't know. First up, we have best book you've read so far this year. I had a lot of mangas and manhwas that were also 5 stars, but they're kind of harder to say that they were the best because they are in a series, and it's more that I just love the entire series as a whole. But I also read Anne of Avonlea by L.M. Montgomery, and I believe this has been my favourite book for this year. This is the second book in the Anne of Green Gables series, and it follows Anne, who's just a little bit older. She's starting to teach school, and she has these interactions with more older characters in Avonlea, and I just adore those other characters and sort of the way L.M. Montgomery sort of spun the realism, the sort of childlike heart or imagination, holding on to the little joys in this book, through these other older characters that haven't given all their hope away, but also don't have that feeling of, oh no, we work and we are adults and we are very solemn now. And they're like, well, this is technically a reread too. I think I actually appreciated the story in this one more this read through than I did the first time I read it. And I gotta say, I loved it so much. So there's that one for us. The next question we have is best sequel you've read so far this year. Again, I had a lot of sequels, a lot of series, and I enjoyed a lot of them. But for the best one I've read this year, it has to be the second novel of Out of Count's Family by Yu Rohan, and it follows Kale Hernetis here. I've spoken about this series so much on the channel, but for those who may be new, it is about Kale here, who was originally a person in the real world, and he wakes up in a book with the main character here actually in the book bashes up his character. So he's like, oh, I do not want to go through pain. I don't want to deal with that. So let me just make a few changes to the storyline, make myself stronger in a way that is more protection based than attack based, because I just don't want to get hurt. I want to be rich, not hurt. And along the way, he keeps collecting these little people or creatures or just these allies without trying to. But then once he sort of has them there, he's like, oh, I guess you're one of mine now. I better look after you too. But you can be helpful to me while I'm looking after you. But also I feel a duty to look after you. So he's a very strange main character because he's a little full of himself. In his selfishness, he is actually really kind and caring. But in his head, he is not doing it for good reasons. And it's funny because all the side characters, of course, all love and adore him because he's so nice. And he's like, why are you attaching yourself to me? I'm the worst person you've ever met, surely. But this is novel 2, which continues on with this tale. And it's just a funny, humorous, but, you know, you love and care for every single one of the characters. And because all the characters are kind of unique, you don't get midway through the book and go, wait, who are you again? And then you're like, oh, this person. They introduce the characters really well. So you're on top of things straight from the get-go, which is helpful. But because it is a Korean translated web novel, it doesn't really sit like a normal novel. Like, it doesn't introduce a story and finish the story by the end. I mean, it wraps up different parts like a normal novel, but it also not. Oh, it's hard to do. It's like a saga, so you get little episodes. But there's nothing super wrapped up. There's little things wrapped up. But the main plot still has books and books to go. Then we get to new releases you haven't read yet. Here's the thing, I'm not huge into new releases. And most of the new releases are like I'm on top of that I actually want to read. But I was looking at, there's a really popular one right now, which is The Night and the Moth. And here's the thing with that one, I don't know whether I'm really looking forward to it or whether I want to read it or not. It's one of those ones where I'm like, do I actually want to read you? Or am I just intrigued by what some of the reviews are saying and it's actually a lie and I won't like it? I tend to get a little cautious around super popular books because half the time I'm like, I haven't enjoyed these super popular books. So am I just going to hate this one too? Plus, I don't know the content in them. I'm like, is there smart? Is there like really dark, horrible themes or not? I don't know. There's been a ton of manhwa releases this year, which doesn't technically mean they were written this year, but they are being released in book format this year. And so we've got Father, I Don't Want This Marriage, which is an excellent one. We've got several Yearn of the Dawns. I've got the latest Skip Beat trio, this series. I've got the latest trio in that, but my brother's borrowing it at the moment and I'm slowly making my way through the whole series again. So there's a whole heap that I haven't read yet, but I can't think of anything more specific than that. So sorry for that boring answer, but I don't think I have anything. Which brings us to the next part of this question, which is most anticipated release in the second half of the year. So, I actually have an answer for this. This manhwa series, which is Villains Are Destined to Die, by Kwon Kyo-il, and the art is by Suol. This manhwa series is based off a novel series, like a web novel, Korean web novel. And the author, Kwon Kyo-il, her novels are getting translated to English by Eyes Press. And the first one's going to be released at the end of October, I think. So I'm very excited to receive the first novel of this series, to see if I like the novel more than the manhwa, or whether I still, you know, it's just intriguing to me. And look, the cover looks cool. And I am such a big sucker for cool looking covers. But I'm very picky about what I think is a cool cover, but, you know. So that's probably the most anticipated release for the end of the year. Otherwise, there's books from, like, mid-in series and more manhwas that also get released near the end of this year as well. So, next up, we have the biggest disappointment so far for the year, which may surprise some people, this one, but it's Anne of the Island, which is the book after Anne of Lee, which was my favourite, and this was my biggest disappointment. I remember loving this book, though, as I was a little younger. I adored it. And now on a reread, like, it still had a few good points, but Anne lost a lot of her spark in this one, and she made some really foolish decisions, and Gilbert was kind of not my guy in this one. So I don't know, it just lost so much of its spark that was still in this one. And like, you don't have to grow up, and then in this one it's like, but she did grow up and she became insufferable. Anyway, so I think this was probably my biggest disappointment, because I had in my mind that I loved this book, and then I was reading it and I'm like, oh, I don't love this book. And Mum's like, yes, but Ellen Montgomery does great character studies. It's great with the realism of different life, and unfortunately some of our best and most imaginative pure souls do get a little bit corrupted as they age up, and unfortunately Anne was one of them, and she's just stating how all this happened, and I'm just like, wow, that is freaking sad, because I am still joyful in soul. I still have so much imagination. I love seeing joy in life. I like being happy, and I like finding amusement in different things. You will find me being amused half the time in public if I'm just sitting there listening in. Half the time I'm amusing myself. I will be very quiet doing so, but I will be amused. So yeah, that was a little bit of a disappointment for dear Anne. Next up we have the biggest surprise of the year. And I've got to say, I just randomly one day was trying to find a replacement for a different book, and I stumbled across Healing the Mountain Man's Heart by Misty Bella. I really just got it because it seemed like a historical, like, Western story, and it appeared to be a bit of a, drama-filled Christian, like, romance. Anyway, upon reading, I did discover that it was indeed drama-filled. It was like, as I've said multiple times, I won't go into too much, it was like watching episodes of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, and just so much chaos happening. And for some reason, I wasn't expecting myself to enjoy that so much. Usually I'm like, oh, this is a bit cheesy and everything, but it was fun. It was fun. It was one of those books where, like, it's not a great book, but at the same time, it's just fun. And so therefore it did surprise me, because I went into it going, oh, I'll give this a try. But I wasn't really expecting much from it, and then I had such a ball. I was like, wow, this is so flippin' fun. So that was probably the biggest surprise for the year. Then we get to new favourite author. I haven't really been introduced to many new authors or debut authors this year that have become a favourite. So I've read several, and I'm like, oh, like, I like your writing, but you haven't become a favourite author, so I can't really say they've become a favourite author. Just ignore the repetition. And others were already favourite authors that I've read, so it's not a new one to me. But I guess if I have to say one, it would be Guan Ge-il, who only has written, as far as I know, Villains Are Destined to Die. But there's some nuances in her story, and she really knows how to make annoying. You are so angry at the other characters, and you just want to adopt the main character. Like, this is not a funny, goofy time following Penelope in her family. But it's got a little bit of fantasy, and it does have some tropes and stuff. But out of every book that I've read so far this year, she's probably the one that I've bought the most of. And I'm enjoying going through the series. I'm trying to pace myself. I'm such a sucker for pacing myself. For no apparent reason other than I don't want to get to the last book in the series, and then I'm like waiting around till the next release comes out. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Same as I was keeping on top of Ladder of Chance Family, but now I have 2 books to go in the series, and another one gets released at the end of September, and I'm just like, but I don't want to catch up, I don't want to get to the end and then I have to wait for the book, and I'm like, girl, you're already waiting for the book. You're just saying you're not waiting for it. So for a new favourite, which I'm getting the novel for, we'll see if I like her novel writing when I get the novel in. I don't know. I enjoy the story, so I'll say her, because I haven't really been introduced to any authors that I have put on my favourites list. I am waiting around for... Audra Wells did release a book, and I'm going to wait for the next book in the series of The Beguiled Gentleman, the next one in the series, but... So I'm waiting around for that one. She might become a new favourite historical romance cozy book author. But I don't know. I've only read one, so I can't really say she's a favourite until I have more books behind me to back that theory. Okay, we get to these next questions, which are music to me. So we have newest fictional crush and newest favorite character. So here's the thing with newest fictional crush. I never think of them as personal crushes. I have favorite male characters and I have favorite relationships where I'm like, you are so cute with your designated book partner. Even with otome games or dating games, like Love and Deep Space or any of the plethora of like dating sims, I never play as if I am the main character. It's always, no, the main character is there and you, the other male character, you are the ones falling in love. I'm just the outsider getting to watch your story unfold. But that being said, my newest favorite character, here's the thing. I did like this character well before this year. Last year, when the game was released, I loved this character and I had adopted this character. Which, when a sudden plot twist happened, I may have shed a tear because I had attached myself to this character and suddenly something happened and they were not. But then, at the start of this year, Caleb from Love and Deep Space, he returned to the game and he's just a favourite. Very misunderstood by some circles. He is the definition of like a childhood friend to lovers. Yearning and caring. And he has some problems. Nearly all of the characters in that game have a lot of trauma, a lot of problems. They all need to go see a therapist. But, what can you do? But that's my cutie. That's my lad. Or MC's lad. Again, when I'm watching, I'm like, you two are cute together. Main character and Caleb. I've never been the person who has book boyfriends that I'm like, oh, I'm in love with you. It's like, no, I love you with that person and I adore your relationship together in your fictional form. I guess the only other male character I've sort of come to like this year would have to be Simon from the Secrets of Ormdale series. Simon has grown on me. At first I didn't really especially love Simon. And then throughout the books, he's slowly grown on me. And by the latest book that I've read, which was book 3, I can admit he's a good lad. I'm like, oh, Simon, you smart little character, you. And so, therefore, yeah, Simon. Simon is probably my newest, as I say, fictional crush. Favorite male character that I'm like, oh, you would make a good partner to your fictional partner. Not to me. Your fictional partner. And that's that one, which brings us to our next one, which is newest favorite character. Look, I haven't really adopted anyone. I have old favorite characters this year, a lot of, but not many new favorite characters. But alas, I did recall one character that I had adopted or, brought under my wing and named a favorite character, and it is a side character. If you're new here, I am the one that will attach myself to any little character that gets mentioned twice in a book, and I'll be like, oh, that's the boy, that's my lad, or that's my girl, that one right there. The latest one has been from Crown of Midnight, and I bet you won't be able to guess who from Crown of Midnight. It is Ress. R-E-S-S from Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. He is a little guard that, guards Selena, the main character. And he gets mentioned like 4 times throughout this entire book. But I said, you know what? Ress, you are my favorite character in the book, along with the dog, Fleetfoot. So, Ress is my new favorite character in the Throne of Glass series. Some people say Selena is, some people say Dorian is, but no, I couldn't care less about those ones. I love Ress, which doesn't bode well for the rest of the series if my favourite character is pretty much a no-name. Pretty much just, it gets tossed in there every now and then when they need to mention that Selena does have a guard watching over her. But that's my lad. Next up we have a book that made you cry. Look, I cry at everything. So, It's not hard to make me cry at a book, let's just put it that way. I think tear up at my own imaginings of fictional characters all the time. I'm a writer. It's what I do. So the series Before the Coffee Gets Cold makes me cry. I did slowly get tired of the series, but it made me cry. So definitely the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. Otherwise, this year, we had Mates at Billabong, which I don't have on me, in the Billabong by Mary Grant Bruce series. It's called Mates at Billabong. It's books 2 in the series, and in it, again, cried. It's just sad, right near the end. I love the characters, but there's an incident that I think is so heartless, so heartbreaking, that it did make me cry. But as I say, I cry at pretty much everything. The only one I didn't cry at, which I hear some people do, was I can be so heartless if I do not like the character. Let me just put it that way. Let's not talk about how heartless I truly am behind this, guys. I can be quite heartless to these poor fictional characters. But if they're a side character who had 2 lines and really has no backing other than those 2 lines and they die, bawling my eyes out. How dare you do that to that poor little side character. Oh, we get to a book that made you happy, which is more of a series that made me happy. But I decided on Skip Date by Yoshiki Nakamura. I love this series so much. It's so funny with its humor, but it's got some more deeper points. There's romance, there's friendship, there's family, there's found family, there's little... Yeah, it's got it all. And I love it so much. It makes me so happy. Whenever I get to put one on my TBR, I'm like, yes! This month is going to be good. I get a dose of happiness. But again, I do dose myself with it. I'm like, no, you can't read it all. Just little doses. Ridiculous. But anyway, Skip Beat is about Kyoko, who is in the acting business after she gets betrayed by a childhood friend. And Ren is like the senior in her company. Or someone who's been acting for a while longer. And their relationship and Kyoko finding her passion for acting and all the different roles she manages to take on because she's really good at it. And it's just fun, and she plays a giant chicken mascot, which is so hilarious, and it does bring me joy. It does. And I love it. It's a manga, by the way, just in case you didn't know that. Joy. This is joy right here. Now we get to the most beautiful book you've bought this year. Let me just say, I have several. As I've said before, I love pretty covers. And most of them are Korean. Most of the Korean manhwas and novels have the best covers. I don't care what anyone says. They are impeccable. They are so pretty. Therefore, most of what I bought were pretty manhwas or translated novels. So, first up, we have Loud of Cancer Family, number 3, and number 4. Look how cool he is. In this one, he's like gorgeous, beautiful. Which was the prompt, by the way. It was the most beautiful cover. And that is beautiful. And then we have, like, cool military Kale with his dragon. Those are gorgeous. Then we have, which is always so cool, is A Stepmother's Mansion. This is a volume 5. Don't love that character, but it still looks cool. The gold accents, like framing. And the fact that the side has this, they each sport this little symbol with the different number, and then that all matches up, and then they've got little like bookmarky tag there, the tag, and then the back they also have this little like with him again, different artwork, and it's beautiful. Everything about it is just gorgeous. Like, yeah, put that on display. I did buy this version of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which is it's just pretty. I mean, the back is nothing to look at really, but that cover is just gorgeous. And then the side was so happy. I saw this and I'm like, you know what, I do need a copy of Pride and Prejudice. I do. Convinced me. I absolutely, how could I not think I need a beautiful edition of Pride and Prejudice? Certainly wasn't me that said that. Next up we have books you need to read before the end of the year. I'm not really strict on myself. At least not this year. Maybe next year I'll set a 26 books for 2026. But really, I don't have any books that I'm like, I've got to get to you. I really got to finish you by the end of this year. But I do want to get around to the Nancy Drew series that I have. Nancy Drew, The Secret of the Old Clock. That's book 1 in the series. It's just, I adore some Nancy Drew, so I want to get around to that. I think another question on the tag I saw floating around but hadn't written down was, what book are you most anticipating rereading this year? And I do think it has to be The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axio. I didn't love the ending of this one, but I do want to reread it because I have a book. I'm going to mention this yet again. I have a really creative idea that involves this book and this story and a guy from this game, Raphael. It's coming. It's going to come to fruition. I just need to write a script and study this book and study the other story to make my script, which takes more because I'm currently writing a book, a novel. I am almost finished writing the novel, the first draft, but this requires writing as well, and I have other priorities. And every time I show this book, I'm like, I've got a video idea. And then nothing happens. But it will. It will. So I do want to reread this by the end of the year and get that video out. And finally, we have favorite book to movie adaptation. Favorite book to movie adaptation. Enunciation. I've got to admit, I haven't been watching many movies or TV shows other than like cooking shows and that. I've wanted to watch some, and I do watch things with Dad when they're on the TV, but I haven't read the books for most of them, so I wouldn't know. So for example, I did watch North and South with my dad, and Wives and Daughters with my dad, and Cranford with my dad, which Cranford that made me freaking bawl my eyes out. They lead you in with a bit of humour and then suddenly slap you about the face with grief. And then North and South, I think I watched it once before. It's okay. It's pretty good. And then Wives and Daughters, which was intriguing. A lot of stuff going on in that. A lot of scandal, a lot of back and forth. You don't know quite what's happening. But it was fun as well. But I think it was mainly because I was doing it with my dad. Otherwise, I did start Marry My Husband, which is a K-drama, off a book or webtoon series. Again, never read the original, and I only made it partway through the K-drama, and I haven't gone back. Not because I was hating it, but because I just... there's only so much you can do in life, and when you are exhausted most of the time with the chronic illness, you're like, well, I don't know whether I can be bothered. My brain is switching off right now, and I want to be able to take in every detail of things I want to enjoy. Therefore, I put it on the back burner until I am more awake, which, spoilers, has been, how many years now? Like 5+ years of not having that. 3? I don't know, it's been too long. Too long. But that's a wrap up. I don't even know what I blabbed about this entire time. But there you go, that's my mid-year bookish freakout tag. Complete. I had a fun time answering these, but I don't think it was the most in-depth, most intellectual time. So hopefully you just had a goofy fun time with me. That brings us to a wrap for this video. And for the first part of the year. So for now, that's a wrap. And I shall see you all in the next video. Until next time.
T26